that's not supposed to happen so soon. Yeah. Sound check. The mic is live. Mic check. 1, 2. 2.5 minutes to go. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. One minute to go. Seconds, mic check. And we are Live, guys. Welcome back to our second live stream, and I'm going to switch the cameras here. Welcome back to our second live stream. 2 weeks ago, guys, let me know how this sound is. I've got a bit of an echo on my headphones, so I'm going to take this off. And if the sound goes away, I won't know this. Then please let me know in the comments. Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. And I see in the comments Win Carter's here. And Win, you've been around with us for a long time, and great to see you. I remember the last week when I started this live stream, 2 weeks ago it was. Oh my word, I was so emotional when I started, and I played it back on, I've got to look at the camera. I'm a novice at this, just so you know. This is not something that I do often. But I played it back and I watched the video, and I must just tell you guys, when you do this and you watch yourself in your videos afterwards, I don't recommend it. It never looks good. But anyway, I remember seeing myself as it started, and I caught a lump in my throat. I really thought in that moment I was going to do something very silly, because it was very emotional to do this. And there have been so many people out there like Win. Thank you, Win, for the sound is perfect, she says. So many people out there that have supported this channel for the last 5 years, and I'm so grateful for that. And but what it does is it puts a lot of pressure on a person to do the best you can. You don't want to let the people down. And just so you know, there's a lot that can go wrong. When I started this, I did not expect that it was so technical. So I'm just going to show you guys, if I go to a different camera, yeah, you guys can see me up there. There's so much happening. There's so much going on. iPad, just switches and stuff. So I've really got to keep my wits about me to make sure that this goes well. Okay. But that's enough of the technical stuff. Just also want to mention that, as you all know, I'm in South Africa. And right now in South Africa, we have something we call load shedding. All it really is we have no power for a few hours every day. And what that means is that if you don't have a UPS, you can lose your power. Now, we do have a UPS, so we should be fine. Yeah. But what sometimes does happen is that the service providers, the internet service providers, lose the line drop. So if I disappear all of a sudden, it's not because I don't want to be here, or I've run out of something to say, or I'm so scared that I've run away. It's because the line's dropped. I don't think it'll happen, but just a heads up in case that does go down. All right, guys, there's a lot to get through. And I'd like to keep things dynamic, because I'd like you guys to stay throughout the live stream. And I really need you, and I need the comments so we can keep things rolling. So I want to ask you, please put your comments out there. I'm going to go through a few things. So if you want to comment, I'm going to ask you just to hold on those questions for a moment, so that I can get through a few things. And I don't want to lose your questions. I really want to get them. I put something on called slow mode, so you can't post more than a comment every 30 seconds. This is to make sure that everybody has an opportunity and we don't block things up. I'm not expecting a ton of people, but you know, I see 13 online at the moment, and that's awesome. Thank you for coming online. And again, thank you to my subbies for still being with me. So also, I'm aware that there's a Formula One race on right now. And when I scheduled this, I didn't take that into account. I'm not sure. I don't know if any one of you are fans. I'm a huge fan, so I'll catch it afterwards. But I suspect there was a clash and a few people are not going to be here. All right. What are your interests? I'd be curious to know. What do you do for hobbies, or what are your interests? Put them in the comments. It'll be quite cool to see what you guys are up to when you have time off. So yeah, put a Q there for a question if you are. Let me know where you're from, which part of the world. It's always cool to know. And I see Blissful Essence, morning, says Blissful Essence. So I don't know who you are from Blissful Essence. And what's kind of nice is if you put your name there, then I can call you. I don't mind calling you Blissful Essence, but it's kind of nice to get the names and address you directly. Like my channel is the AMPUTEE Life, but I put with Chris so that people know that I'm Chris. Vivek Gupta, hi from Boston, Maryland. I think Emma is Maryland in the US. I have traveled extensively in the States when I was younger, a lot younger, with 2 legs, and bought an old car and drove through, in total, 36 states. So I think it's a bit more than a lot of residence in the US, and I had such an amazing time. I think the US is a fantastic country to travel for every youngster. It's easy to travel. People are super friendly. So often I was invited to stay over somewhere. Oh my word, if I'd known then, I was like 27, just before life got serious. What was going to happen? I lost my leg when I had the accident when I was 34. Now that I think about it, I turned 28 in the States only 6 years later. It's so hard to imagine right now that if somebody had told me at 28, dude, you're going to be without a leg when you're 34, I would have been horrified. I would not have believed it. I mean, so hard to imagine thinking of that at that age when you're so pumped and have so much energy and plans for the future. All right, just want to name a few. Rui Gutierrez says, hi, Chris. Rui from snowy Maine, USA. I did not go to Maine on my travels, but hopefully I'll get there one day. You are doing great. I think you've done this before. I haven't. I've done a lot of public speaking as an amputee and to help people with all kinds of things like substance abuse and other things. But this is new to me, and it is quite anxiety-provoking. But once you get going, it's cool. Donna says from Santa Fe, I've been to Santa Fe, and I like that part of the world. I like that kind of more arid parts of the other states. As you guys know, I went to Utah recently. Love that part of the States. I'm going to get onto the program in a moment. I just want to acknowledge, if I miss your name, I'm sorry, guys, but there's Ann Brock, hi, Chris, Ohio. Cool. I did not go to Ohio, unfortunately. Love riding the motorcycle. Weather's starting to warm up to do so. I'm also a biker, and still to the biking, and I will post. I mustn't forget to post videos other than live streams. I want to post a video on riding a bike as an amputee. And I mean, would it be amazing if I could come over and a bunch of us can hook up bikers, amputee bikers, and do a trip? I don't know, Route 66 or something, or the PCH, Pacific Coast, PCH, I think it is, Pacific Coast Highway, which I have driven. Daniel Barton, hi from Charleston. SC, USA, what is SC? I'll think about it in a moment. Oh my word, how can it, Saskatchewan? I'm not sure. Melody from US. Oh, it's Melody, Blissful Essence. And Paula Wologorski, I hope I said that right. Hi, Paula from Pittsburgh. Now, when I went to the States, I landed in Pittsburgh, and it was maybe you can remember this, Paula, but it was the year 1994, and I think it was the coldest winter Pittsburgh had in something like 100 years. It was minus, I think, -2 Fahrenheit or 3 or 4 something. Here in Africa, we don't have those sort of temperatures, so I was completely underdressed. But I had a wonderful time skiing in a place called Hidden Valley. I was invited. I didn't have the money to do that back in the day, or now for that matter. But I had a great time and used Pittsburgh as my base, and then traveled all around the States from there with my 2 legs. All right. So, yeah, Donna, that would be, I think it's Donna, right? That would be great. She says, I think it was Donna who said, from Santa Fe, yes. All right, guys. All right. It's really important for me that I try and get you guys to stay with me on this. So I'm going to keep it rolling and hopefully kind of exciting for you. Don't want to lose and for no other reason that this is not about anything other than wanting to build a community and wanting to keep things kind of interesting for you guys. So I really want to keep you guys listening, and if I'm talking too fast, let me know. And I am aware that my lips are slightly out of sync with the sound. That's why I took this off, because it's way off in the headphones, but I did my best with the streaming hardware to try and sync them, but I'll do better and better as we go along. Really want to build this and build it into something fun for us all to participate in and get as much feedback as possible from others to do so. Hi, Mike. Bull, just catching the live for the first time. Can't wait to hear more. Thanks, Mike, and thanks for the support. This is what keeps things rolling, is to hear from you guys. Okay, let's get into the program. Firstly, what is it about? So I've got a bunch of notes here to keep me sharp and not to digress too much, but it's to answer your questions, really. I think that's the big thing. And to share some of what I have learned. I don't want to make it about me. It's really about you guys, but inevitably I'll share some of my experience doing this. But it's to answer your questions, really. I put out and thanks for those that participated, I put out a poll last weekend, and I asked, what is it that you would like to discuss on this channel, and I put 5 topics out there, and this is how the poll came back. 5 topics. Types of prosthetics. Number 1, types of prosthetics, basic to more advanced. And that got 19%. So that's a fifth of the... Then the one I thought that would get a much better response was how we psychologically deal with the loss of a limb or leg. Now, I'm a therapist, so that's kind of my zone, my realm of work. And I thought there'd be a lot more people interested. I got 4%. So it seems like everybody's doing pretty well out there psychologically, and that's awesome. Best practices for the first few months after amputation was the third one. That got 20 or 19 or 20%. Best practices for the first few months. I will talk about that because I think the bulk of us will have been down this road probably for a few months or years or so. And I imagine some people will come online that are due for an amputation or have just had the amputation, would really like to address them or be of value to them too. Then the fourth was phantom pain and infection issues. That came in at 15%. Surprisingly, I also thought there'd be more about that. So it seems like we're doing okay on the pain front, which to me was a huge issue for very long. And I've got on the list today, I've got 5 things that I'm going to mention a little later on. And these were my biggest mistakes. I thought long and hard about that. I made a video called 5 Things I Did Not Expect when I lost my leg. And I've rethought those. They're slightly different from my 5 biggest mistakes that I've made. And these are the things that really helped me back. And I'm going to go over them at some point during this live stream. But I'd also like to hear from you guys what you feel, what do you feel is your biggest obstacle is the question of the day, the topic du jour. What do you think your biggest obstacle has been as an amputee? And I want to stay away from prosthetics because I think that's something a lot of us can put out there. So let's exclude prosthetics. Other than prosthetics, what do you think your biggest obstacle has been as an amputee? So that's it. The poll came back. The most popular request was general discussion on gait, stability, and stumble recovery. So I will put effort into that, possibly in the third live stream. I'll have more time to prepare for that. But the big thing is to keep it dynamic, and therefore I would like to do Q&As as we're doing now. I think that's what most people also want. So I'm watching the list here as we're coming in. We've got 17 viewers at the moment, and that is awesome. Here we go. Mike Ball commenting in, Chris, we've seen that one. And says 4%. Oh, wow. I'd love to still talk about it. And Mike, I will talk about it. That is, I think, one of the things I've spent most of my almost 20 years as an amputee working with. So if you guys have questions about the psychological realm of loss or how it affects us, I will talk about that. Love that topic. Then there is, when says she missed the poll, I will put one out again with different topics. And Brooke says stamina. And why did you say that? Oh, my prosthetist is from South Africa, says Anne. Cape Town, I believe. So is mine. And Eugene is my prosthetist, and I have the world's respect for prosthetist is next to my family, the most important person in my life. It's the guy that keeps me mobile and active, and that keeps my mood buoyant. And if my mood's buoyant, I can be a better dad and husband and friend and all those important things. So, all right, guys, I'm going to, as I said, if I miss your comment, I will try and come back to it. But I'm going to get on with the program a bit more. All right, so as I said, we're doing this because we want to answer questions, and we've got a bit to get through. So I hope you have a coffee. We're going to mix it up a little bit in today's stream. There isn't one particular thing, but quite a few things that I want to cover. I have some insurance. So I'm not a big Red Bull drinker, and I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. This is just random, completely random. But I thought, okay, if I run out of steam, I'm going to grab a Red Bull to pep me up, to perk me up a little bit. Okay, just brief little information for it. Seems like a lot of us have met before. But just brief, I'm a left through knee amputee. I've been an amputee for 20 years. However, I've been disabled since the year 2000. I had my accident, a paragliding accident, and struggled for 4 years, elected to amputate. And that was the best decision I could have made. But okay, that's the way it worked out. 4 years were difficult, but good decision. Things were difficult for a while, and I am going to address that in my 5 biggest mistakes a little later on. But ultimately, the past 5 years, since 2018, really the beginning of 2018, everything changed. Life really flipped with a few things that changed, and I'll mention those. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll answer those. But a few things changed, and as you guys see, that's 2018 was the year I started making the videos. I actually started making these videos before I got the prosthetics that I use now, and so I was in a bit of a bad space when I started the videos, and I went back to look, and you can't really tell, but the most successful video on the channel has had over 30,000 views, and I know by big YouTuber standards, that's not a hell of a lot. I'm not exactly a PewDiePie, but it got 30,000 views, and it was on 5 things I did not expect after losing my leg. And that was made in a time when I was struggling. Then about 4 months in, 5 months in, my prosthetics changed and everything changed. And I can see my tone change too after that. I think the first video I made with the new prosthetics, I went on a hike, and then I did a video, which was also very successful in the channel, which was 3 tips for a kick-ass gait. And I still to this day believe that those are the best tips that I could ever share with anyone. And I went for a walk this morning. I don't know, I think we walked maybe 4 kilometers. And in miles, I think it's about just over 2.5 miles. And I still, as I walk, I have to remind myself of these things. And immediately, the moment I remind myself, the gait picks up and I walk with a lot more ease. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't seen that video, 3 tips to walk with a kick-ass gait, is to go. And I think that title maybe catches people's eye, but it's been very successful. And the feedback on that video is absolutely awesome. And thank you for the people that come back and say thank you. I really appreciate the feedback, and it's really motivating and good to hear when a video makes a difference in somebody's life. As the videos, the comments are coming through nice and fast here. Mike says, I lost my leg from a drunk driver making an illegal left turn into a housing truck. She T-boned me and lost my leg on the spot, including basically losing my entire left shoulder. It's crazy how even, and that's where the message ends. But Mike, that is terrible. And let me qualify why I say that. And I hope you're okay. I hope things are working out for you. But I remember I knew paragliding, that if something went wrong, I was going to end up dead or in a wheelchair. That's where extreme sports normally end up, and in particular paragliding. And at the time, there were quite a few accidents, and quite a few people died and or were paralyzed. It was just a spate of accidents while I was in hospital. But here's the thing. I knew if I have an accident and I would die or be in a wheelchair. Of course, when you fly, you never think it's going to be you. It's always going to be someone else. Like, there are 2 kinds of paragliding pilots, those that have had accidents and those that will. But it was my choice to go flying. And therefore, when I had the accident, there was no one to be angry with other than myself. And I often think of people that lose their leg due to the negligence of others, people behaving at the expense of other people, and having such a traumatic experience as happened to Mike. And I imagine there are more people out there to whom that's happened. And so, Mike, my heart goes out to you. It's as I said, I can't imagine how you come to deal with that and come to some level of acceptance of what has happened. The best description I've heard of acceptance, and that helped me, is that acceptance is letting go of the hope that things could have been different. And I've applied that little mantra in many areas of my life, and it's really been quite helpful to do that. Okay, Karen says, I'm in my first week of wearing a leg. I watch your videos and they're very inspiring. Thanks, Karen, and all the best with that. It's very exciting in that first kind of week or 2 when you have the leg, and I hope you keep on growing. Keep on watching videos, mine and other people's. Keep on asking for help. So important. It's one of the mistakes that I made, was not to do that for the first few years. But Karen, yeah, if you have any questions, put it out there. If we can help you, there are a lot of people here with a lot of experience that can hopefully give you tips or point in the right direction if you're having a struggle with something. And then, yeah, Vivek, thank you. This is what we do. He says, good luck, Karen. It's definitely a process. Just hang in there. And I love seeing that. Thank you, Vivek, for doing that. This is why we're here, is to like boost each other, support each other, and give each other tips. And when I lost my leg, I thought about this. When I thought, what were the biggest mistakes that I made? And the one is not asking for help earlier. And I thought, why didn't I do that? And then I thought back at the time, we're talking about 2000 to 2004 until I had the amputation done. And there was no YouTube. I'm not sure exactly when YouTube started, but certainly, I think it was 2006 or 7. There was no YouTube. There was nothing to go to really online. There was internet. I mean, there was Yahoo and Alta Vista and all these, but until Google took over. But there wasn't really a big source of information. You had to go to support group meetings or find somebody who had an amputation done. And I was very resistant to that, which was a mistake. I was determined not to see myself as an amputee or disabled, rather than accepting that I have limitations now and I need to make a few changes. And there are people that have gone through this that could help me. And when eventually I did do that, things got a lot better, and there was a lot of very kind, and still are so many kind people out there. Here in Cape Town, there's an amputee support group, which I'm going to attend on Thursday. And they do a lot of good things. They have a little chat group that I've been following, and I just want to say thank you to the Cape Town Amputee Support Group, and I think it's Carol that runs it. To you too, a shout out to Carol for doing this, and all the other people that do this. I know in the States there's a lot of support. I attended the Amputee Coalition meeting in 2019, and it was amazing to see how much support there's. So reach out to the support, because I think it's such a resource, and this online support. So Karen, yeah, all the best with how this goes for you. Donna says, what a trip. I think she's referring to the trip I did throughout the United States. And then Anne Brock says, Donna, I'm 6 years and I still have those days. Yeah. I'm going to say something about that, because I think with social media, people tend to see all the good stuff, as we know, and it puts a lot of pressure on us to perform better or do better. And I think it's important. I thought about this, that I mentioned, or that I tell you guys, I have bad times too. Cheers. In December, I had to take my leg off. I got a very bad infection. I mean, it was so painful. Started with the ingrown hair, and I had to take off the leg, and it really had an effect on me that I had not experienced since like 2016, when I had an operation where things went south really badly, and I was on crutches for I think 4 months. But it really set me back. So we all have these days, and I certainly don't want to put the impression out there that it doesn't happen anymore, because it does happen, and that's okay. But again, I have such amazing support from people that I've met through Ossur, the people that provide my prosthetics, through my prosthetist, through my family, my friends, my fellow amputees. So I want to encourage you to build that support structure and to reach out to them when you have a difficult time. And it's going to happen, and it's okay. I mean, it's not okay as if we wanted, but it's okay to struggle, is what I'm trying to say. I think, and that's the issue with social media, is that you don't see that side of things. And I did post one video on amputee and depression, and that was in a bleak period. I think there you see me quite vulnerable. And so I just want to say that it happens. Please reach out for help. I'm going to just because some of you weren't here last week, so what I'm going to do is just briefly take you to another screen. For those of you that maybe don't know the channel that well, this is the AMPUTEE Life channel with all the different videos. You can't see my face right now, but so yeah, many videos on there on like stump, limb care, etc. That you can go and check out. And then also, if you ever have any questions, I'm going to point you towards my web page. It's ilive.today, as you can see there. And this is what I do for a life. I'm a therapist, and I work with, everything that I mentioned there. And yeah, if you have questions and you can't put them here, then you're always welcome to ask me online. All right, let's get back to eye contact. All right, guys. So I'm rambling on. Karen says, and I'm going to go to this again. Karen says, should I be in so much pain though? That's a very good question. I think, of everything I've struggled with, pain is what got me the most. It's exhausting. It led me to abuse painkillers. Now, that takes me to the second biggest mistake I made, was not to follow a pain management program. That's for many reasons. First of all, there was no guidance in that, but also I had a propensity for abusing substances. I mean, I used to paraglide because I have that high tolerance for excitement, and when I lost that, I needed something else to distract me, and unfortunately I didn't have the physical capacity to do the things that I used to do, and turned to mind-altering substances, painkillers, and to escape some of the pain, emotional pain and the distress. And so, Karen, you shouldn't be in pain. Nobody should be in pain. And I'm not sure why you're in pain. And to anyone else who struggles with pain, I want to encourage you to find somebody who can help you with a pain management program. Obviously, we need to get to the root of the issue, but try and find somebody who can put together a pain management program. And I am aware that there's an opioid epidemic, and it's not only in the States, it's in other parts of the world too. To be very mindful of falling down that rabbit hole. It's such a terrible spiral to get into, and it's so hard to get out of. So be mindful of the medications that you use in a pain management plan, and there are many other ways to deal with pain other than taking those scheduled painkillers. All right, let's get back to where I was early on. I am keeping my eyes on the comments, and I'll try and go to them as often as I can. But it's so awesome to see you guys cross-talking to each other and supporting each other, giving Karen some support there with her struggle with pain. Thank you for that. Thanks for that, guys. I must remember to look into the camera. Okay, so, yeah, as I said, left through knee amputee, had a long struggle, eventually got things together through a combination of things that I'll get back to, and at present, I am very content. Now, I have got all my prosthetics that I used to use over the year. I still have them, and I need to pass some of them on to people that need them more. But I'm happy that I have them here today, and I have them stacked on a table here. I'm just going to switch cameras again. I have them stacked on a table here. You can see you guys up there. And if you guys are interested, put it in the comments. I can run through them each, 30 seconds one or 1 minute each, and take you through that journey of prosthetics from the first one up to the one that I use now, including the feet, and say one or two things about my socket, because that's such a big deal. So if you want a bit of a tour, a prosthetic leg tour, then I will do that. I'll take us through the whole history and say something about all the different kind of prosthetic legs, if that will be helpful to you or interesting to you. Guys, also, I put here, if you have any ideas or suggestions for future topics, please feel free to share them so that I can put it out in future live streams. Let me just switch back. And we're back. So I can put them out in future live streams. Okay. So I haven't really set aside a specific amount of time, but I thought we could, let's see, we're at half an hour. Can't go over an hour, but as long as the questions are there, we can keep rolling with a live stream. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you're getting something from it and that you're enjoying it. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through, and please ask questions throughout, and I'll answer them the best I can. I'm going to tell you about my 5 biggest mistakes so that you can let me know if you identify with any of these in your own process. So the first one is that I fed into this business of people saying, you're amazing, you're just getting on with your life. you know, you lost your leg and you used to be so active, and look at you, you're just getting on with your life. And the way I was coping was, as I said, that I was on pain medication, so I was numbing myself and focusing on work. So I went from this much broader scope of interest and jumped into my work and became more focused on material things. And it's often what happens to people is the more people told me you're coping so well, the more I fed into that, and the more reluctant I became to ask for help, to acknowledge that I was struggling, to stop and stand still with my thoughts and struggles. And so be careful of falling down that hole of feeling that you're coping because people are saying that you're coping. The second I've already mentioned, which was not asking for help, because asking for help was a weakness, right? Or so I thought. Now, what I've learned subsequently is that asking for help is not a weakness. In fact, it's the first and most difficult thing that we can do, is to ask for help. And what I have learned is that asking for help often is uncomfortable, because you have to show your vulnerability to someone. But the alternative to asking for help is also uncomfortable, because it suggests that there's going to be continuation of what is going on. So often we're stuck as humans. I've learned in the work that I do as a therapist, we want a comfortable outcome, and that's completely understandable. But sometimes we have a choice of two discomforts. In this instance, the one discomfort is to say, please help me, set aside my ideas of, sometimes I was kind of grandiose, that I could cope without you guys, set them aside. That was very uncomfortable. Or the other discomfort was just to continue. And ultimately, when I faced up to the discomfort of acknowledging that I had limitations and I needed other people to help me, things got better. The third one is, I've also alluded to, which is not to have a pain management plan. And that kind of resolved itself, because when I got the prosthetic sorted out, the pain went out the window. Also, I got to a point in my life where I realized taking any mind-altering substances is not a good idea for me. So just made a rule: no mind-altering substances, and that has turned out to be a very good decision that dealt with that part. The fourth one is, this is a big one, is to be complacent after my first prosthetic leg and not trying out other solutions. And I think that happens to a lot of people. Like, I'm keeping my eye on the comments here. Guys, as I said, if you have a question, put a Q there so my eyes can pick it up. Donna says, Chris is a big-time swimmer. I do love swimming. If you're referring to me, I'm not sure. I think, and I'll come back to this point that I made about complacency after my first prosthetic leg. The nice thing about being an amputee in water is I'm as good as anyone else. If you put me with a person with two legs, put me in a pool, I'll probably swim faster than them. And well, maybe not so much anymore at 57 almost, but certainly I'm much more capable, I feel, in a pool than I am on land. So, but that's true for because of the buoyancy factor, I guess, but it's true for kayaking, and I enjoy a surf. I haven't done it for a while, but of course I can't stand, but I'll go on my knees. I'm very comfortable in water. So I want to encourage you guys, as fitness, and because it's aerobic, if you can get into a pool or get into kayaking. I made a video on kayaking 2 or 3 years ago, where I talk about how therapeutic it is, and that's something we can do as well as any other person. I would encourage you to get into those water sports. Paula says, I would love to swim this summer. I'm into 5 months as an amputee. Yeah, absolutely, Paula. As I said, it's a fantastic sport for fitness. Now, just want to say something about fitness. I'm not that disciplined when it comes to that sort of thing, and it's almost as though I start something and then I kind of almost overdo it, get into a role, and then I take time out, like at the moment where I don't do enough. This morning my walk was the first walk in a while, and that's problematic as an amputee, of course, because weight management will be one of the most important things that we do need to take care of. And sorry, somebody's just pointed out something on the other side of the mic for me. Weight management will be one of the most important things that we need to attend to. And I did say this last week, and I'm going to say it again. And I know that it is a sensitive topic, and I don't mean to offend anyone. That's not the idea at all. I really mean to help people. But I think if we don't speak the truth, we're not helping people. And I recall going to the Amputee Coalition, and it was heartbreaking to see how many people with that had amputations done. It was years down the line, and they'd still not been able to get onto a prosthetic leg, and a lot of it had to do with not taking care of their health. And already being an amputee, so much has been taken away from us that I think we need to refocus our efforts into maximizing our remaining mobility. So health is a big deal. When we carry more weight than we should, it puts so much extra pressure on the residual limb. And as a result of that, the fluctuations in the volume of the residual limb or stump, there are more ingrown hairs, the skin suffers more because of the added weight, your spine suffers more. It's just all around being more, I'm not talking fitness as in the top dog, not at all. What I'm suggesting is that we remain supple and maintain our weight to a fair extent, and our quality of life as a result will improve drastically. What I'll do is I'll, in one of the live streams, I'll talk about some of the exercises that I use, that I've used in the past that have been very helpful for me to do weight management. I want to mention, for those of you that are interested in swimming, that there is something called I think it's a pool buoy, and it's like almost like a figure of 8 shape, like an hourglass, and you pinch it between your thighs. So for all of you that are, Mike says he swims all the time. For all of you that are interested in swimming, get that pool buoy. And what the pool buoy does, because we have the extra weight behind us, it drags in the water because you can't kick like we used to kick. So you struggle to lift your hips out of the water. And when you swim, one of the big things you want to do is to elevate your hips. But when you use that pool buoy, it lifts my butt, and I'm able to swim much better. So you can still kick if you want to, but it's a good upper body workout and midriff workout, core strength workout. Yeah, so that's all about that on the swimming. Zombie Punk says, it's weird swimming with one leg. One works fine, and my stump just goes flippy, flippy, floppy. It's weird. Yeah, I used to think that I might swim in circles if I kick with only one leg, but it's you get into a rhythm. That's what I find, and maybe get somebody who's a good swimmer, or maybe even a swimming coach for a bit, just to help you to get that sorted out. But it does feel strange in the beginning, and a lot of new things that we had to get used to with a stump that feels odd, isn't it? In the beginning, right? Donna says your prosthetic has to help with any bone pain. I had the same thing go on. So I missed a comment earlier on. I'm not sure what that was about. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to follow the comments to the best of my ability, but I love that there's a conversation going on in the background. Then Rheo asks a very good question. Chris, what do you think about osseointegration? So this is a big topic at the moment, and it is a bit of the flavor of the times. Well, straight up, I won't do it. Those are my thoughts. First of all, I'm 57. I'm going to do nothing to compromise my health right now. That's amongst other reasons why I don't try and run, or I'm happy to walk. I try not to load the residual limb to save the to keep it good. So I don't want to compromise that. But osseointegration, I think it's early days of osseointegration. Is a doctor, I can't remember his name now, but there was an article on him, and he advertised osseointegration as a big deal, and attracted a lot of patients. And and a lot of people, a few did okay, but there was a lot of people that struggled with infections, and it was awful. I saw some of the images and some of the people interviewed, and it was truly shocking to see when this goes wrong, how badly it goes wrong. If there's anyone here that knows more than I do about osseointegration, and I did mention 2 weeks ago that this is a topic that I'd like to put out there, then please, let us know. But It's not for me. For many reasons, and if anybody's done it, or if anybody plans on doing it, I don't want to, I don't want to put negative thoughts into your head. There are some amazing success stories, but the whole just for me personally, the idea of a pin poking out of my skin, running up my femur is. I can't imagine that that'll be comfortable for me. There's something about that doesn't work for me. But as I said, I saw one or two people that had osseointegration done at a clinic. Also do these mobility clinics, if you guys can find it in your area, wherever you are, and you meet a lot of other amputees and learn a lot from Ossur. They go to a lot of trouble to do gait training and learn to play all kinds of new exercises and games, and it's very interactive, and you meet a whole new community of people. So I want to encourage you to do that. But and I spoke to two people there that had it done, and they had a successful osseointegration. But it's not for me, really. I don't know if you're considering it, and as I said, the last thing I want to do is to influence anyone negatively, but not for me. So I'm going to go back to the mistakes that I made. So I said the fourth one was being complacent after my first prosthetic and not trying other solutions. And I think what happened there was, and I'm just thinking of, was it Karen earlier that said she's been on a prosthetic for a week? It's such a relief after being in hospital for, after being in two legs with one stiff leg that was amputated, and that healing and thinking of the new possibilities, and the most amazing thing for me about electing to amputate, if there's anyone out there who's joined us considering this, was I knew, I'm going to plug in my laptop before I lose power. I knew that after I'd amputated, I knew exactly where I stood with my physical abilities, and having a leg that they're always saying, well, if you take a bit of skin off your back and a bit of muscle here and maybe your knee can bend. It was awful for 4 years to go through those ups and downs of, will they fix it, will they not fix it? That was a terrible time. So getting the leg off, having it amputated, I knew this is what I'm dealing with, and I could figure out what I could and what I couldn't do. However, I got that first leg, and I was so happy to have that first leg, to be walking for the first time, to be able to get into a car without this broomstick leg poking all over the place, that I made a few mistakes. The first is as I said earlier, I didn't research. There was no YouTube, or Google wasn't that, certainly not, didn't have the kind of information at the time, I think. I didn't try, but it was early days. Won't lay it on Google. It was my responsibility to do more research. Essentially what I did was I had the leg amputated by a very capable surgeon. The surgeon referred me to two prosthetists. I paid each one a visit and selected the one that I thought was the most professional and had a good reputation, and took everything he said as gospel. Accepted what he suggested, accepted the foot that he suggested, accepted that the knee, of course I had a budget too, but accepted the knee, accepted the first socket, accepted the liner, because I knew nothing. So I went out in the world with my first foot, and I was such a happy chappy that I never questioned whether, I thought this was it. I never questioned whether I'd be able to do better or have more mobility, or I was just, it was so good to be up, and that carried on for a long time. Not really looking into other prosthetics. Eventually, I did look into other prosthetics, and went from that knee, which was a Otterbach 3R60, I think it's called, which was fine, not safe. It was prone to collapsing with me. I went from that to the total knee, Ossur's total knee, which is fine, and it's still, for me, it's that bomb-proof kind of. It's my Jeep Wrangler of knees. It kind of it's so bomb-proof. If somebody told me there's a nuclear holocaust coming, pick a leg, I'd pick that one, because I think it would outlive the cockroaches. But so I used the total knee, and then I went on to a Naptesco, it was called. That's a Japanese company, as far as I remember, aeronautical company, that ended in a disaster. because I got it secondhand, and the battery that's supposed to power this knee, I couldn't replace it, couldn't get one. But it's called a hybrid microprocessor knee. So it had a hydraulic piston, but it was still, I think, substandard compared to what I use now. And then, of course, as I've told you guys, in 2018 everything changed, and I got the Ossur Rheo XC knee, which was eventually fitted with the Proprio foot, and everything changed. As you can see in the videos, I can hike and walk where I want to, when I want to, with no pain or very little infections. One infection in 5 years. So, okay, that's a long story. As I said, I don't want to lose you guys, but my point being, push, be curious, get the information, push your prosthetist, always look a little bit further. I think I could have, I know there are budgetary issues, and as far as I know, in the United States, the plans that you have are pretty good. In South Africa, it's not. It's very expensive here for prosthetics. But my mantra is always, I'd rather drive a small little car and have a proper prosthetic leg. I could never understand why you would not do that, because so much of our quality of life depends on having the right prosthetics. Anyway, and then just to take it to its conclusion, then I got the Ossur Rheo XC knee, which changed everything. So that was that as a big mistake. And then, which takes me to the last one, it kind of leads into the last one, which is not pushing harder to up my mobility, not taking on more sports, and not taking a little bit more risk. And in hindsight, I didn't have to take a lot more risk to expand my abilities. So I want to encourage you. Karen says she's in the UK. So I'm not sure, Karen, what the deal is out there with prosthetics, but I want to encourage you guys to get the best prosthetics that you can. It's just as a quality of life issue, it's truly worth it. And Brock says, what is your K level? Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Would I qualify for a Rheo? So I don't know, guys, where you are and whether you would or not. Sorry, that is outside of my area of expertise. But look up your prosthetist, and let's just talk about that for a moment. Your prosthetist, as I said earlier, is the second most important person in my life next to my family. And when I met my current prosthetist, he asked all the right questions. He made my first socket, which was, when I put my leg in there, it just fit like a glove. And I realized at that point just how important it is to get that right person. So these kind of things, these questions that you guys are asking, your prosthetist should be able to answer those questions. Of course, we get more support from the outside, but these are questions that your prosthetist should facilitate. For me, a prosthetist should be my one-stop shop for all matters disability. If I have any question, whether it has to do with pain or infection or components, or I call Eugene, and he's my guy. Subsequently, I've built up a really good relationship with Ossur, so I get awesome support from them too. But the prosthetist should be able to answer any single question that you have to ask. So guys, I'm trying to scan the comments here to make sure I'm not missing anything or any questions. Blissful Essence says, lol, someone told me amputees float. For a while, maybe. I'm sure at some point we'll sink if we don't make some motions. Kimberly Sisk says, yes, I made it here. Hello all from Alabama, USA. Kimberly, you sent me a message this week. I just want to say thank you very much for that. And for joining us today after I asked you to join us. I've set aside 5 messages from videos recently that I thought I'd read to you guys, and the answers that go along with that. So, Pat Riots. And again, guys, if there's anything else you want me to cover today, we are almost coming to the end. We have about 5 or so minutes left, maybe 10. But anything specifically you wanted to mention today, please put it there. if I repost this video, I will obviously go through all these comments and I will look at them individually. Last week, for some reason, I couldn't get the comments to play afterwards, but I will look through them and I will try and include whatever you put in the comments in the next live show or in future live streams, live shows. All right, guys, so I can't put these questions on the screen because I haven't had the it's my iPhone, but I'm going to read them, and if you can listen, I'm going to cover the answer. So it says, I'm 4 months post below knee amputation. This is from Pat Riot. Up and walking, chopping firewood, doing tractor work in the middle of Caribou Main winter. Caribou Main winter. I think it's Caribou Main winter. I'll be honest, it's not the big things because I can still manage them, but it's the little things like the time it takes to get down on the floor safely to wrestle with my dogs. Thanks for the channel, brother. Good stuff. And to that I say, Pat, you're welcome. I did answer your message, but she makes a very valid point. The big stuff also I've learned to get on with, and for new amputees, or I think some of you will connect with this, but kind of learn to get on with that. So the walking, the hiking, the basic chores, the going to the office, getting in the car, all these tasks, daily tasks, they're fine. But it's the small little frustrations that can really take me out. It's the forgetting the keys and having to get up the stairs again. It's the not being able to move fast enough. It's not being able to help my family with, say, suitcases when you're traveling, and it's at times it affects your dignity. You need to ask people to help you with things you don't want to necessarily ask them for. But it's those small kind of things that I agree, Pat, can get to me. I'm not sure if Pat is he or she. So I'm not sure if I said he or she earlier on, but Pat, I agree with you. I think those small things can take us out. Linda Neal says, this was on the video that I posted, 3 tips for a kick-ass gait. And for those of you that haven't seen the follow-up to that, there are, I think it's 5 more tips to a kick-ass gait that I've posted, where I discuss more things that I'd learned over time. Says, I can't tell you how helpful this video was. I was hobbling around like an old man with chronic hip and back pain. I've been practicing your tips and it's much, much better. Thank you. And I want to say it's these kind of comments that are so motivating to make more videos. So Linda, I really appreciate that. And I think the most positive comments that I've had over time on the videos that I've made is on these 3 tips for a kick-ass gait. The amount of people that have told me, and I got these tips from my prosthetist, the subsequent one, 5 more tips, those are things that I figured out for myself that made a big difference that I shared with you guys. But essentially I got 2 of these 3 from my prosthetist. And I remember the day he told me and I started doing it, I thought, oh my word, why did no one tell me this? Why has no one told me this in the 10 years, I think it was, or no, not even 10, 14 years prior to, because it really does make a difference. So I encourage you to go and watch that video. Dennis says, Chris, I'm currently using the ProFlex pivot. I am a below knee amputee. I've been curious about upgrading to the Proprio foot, but have been concerned about noise, beeping, and improved gait. Do you feel that the Proprio foot would provide a better gait? Now, I like this question because not all of us are through knee or above knees, but we all have something in common, which is we need a good foot. So I can speak to everybody here. And Karen says, thanks for being there, Chris. Thank you, Karen. It's an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate that comment. Wynn says, hit the like button, guys. It really helps Chris's site. That is true, Wynn, and thanks for the support. Subscription and like button does promote the videos, but even more than that, it is incredibly motivating to get out there and make more videos. It's the feedback, I think, that is so motivating, is to know that it helps people. That was what it was all about, and continues to be all about that. Okay, I'm going to answer Dennis's question, and as I said, this is hopefully helpful for a lot of people because we all need prosthetic feet. I use interchangeably 2 different feet. I use the ProFlex LP, which, as you can see, has this rubber ball here, and I can't do it because I'm not strong enough, but it allows the ProFlex LP torsion, and it allows the thing to twist and to damp. Now, you know, the foot has a lot of functions. It has to absorb energy and return that energy. It has to be a damper. It has to give stability. I mean, there are so many things that a good foot should be taken care of. And this foot, of all the feet that I've used over time, I think this is the one that has served me the best. It's, I think, what I used when I was in Utah hiking, but it's, I think, in terms of rock solid return on value for money, I don't think there's anything better than this ProFlex LP Torsion. It's the one I would go for. It. I say LP, it's low profile. There's also one with a higher profile where the ball sits a little bit higher depending on the nature of your injury. So that's the one that I use. The other one, the Proprio, has electronics in it. So I want to answer that question. I just want to look at Mike's question. Yes, Chris, I wanted to let you know you were one of the first channels I found back when I lost my leg in March the 6th, 2021. Thank you for all of your expertise over the years and not gatekeep. Thanks, Mike. I really do appreciate that. And you know, as I read through this, I'm motivated to post more videos and meet the needs of the amputee community the best that I can. Being able to do this has helped me to process emotionally the loss. I think when we find meaning in our loss, in our let's call it suffering. I think that losing a leg is suffering of sorts. I think that when we find meaning in our suffering, the despair lifts. And I think we are challenged to look at what had happened to us and figure out how can I make something meaningful of this. And this was my way. I think we'll all do it in a different way, but I think it is something important to do. My way was to start doing a bit of this, and it puts value in something that was such a big loss for such a long time. And I think we're challenged to do that in many areas of our lives, is to look back at where we've struggled. There's a book called Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor Frankl, where he addresses this, and he says that happiness is a combination of three things. It's not something in itself. It's something that happens as a byproduct of three things coexisting. The one is love, and there are two forms of love. That's love for self-love, as in self-care love, and love for the other. So that's love. The second one, he says, is to find purpose in our lives, and by that he means a daily sense of purpose. For example, when I wake up, I know I'm going to make this video, that feels purposeful. Or when I go to my practice to do counseling, that makes the day, that fills the day with purpose. And the third one, he says, is we need to make meaning, find meaning in our suffering, in our struggles. And for me, for example, doing this, and I want to encourage you to do something, find some value in your loss too. Sorry, I'm just keeping my eyes. I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss comments and leave someone out. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor. The book is non-political. It's not about politics. It's about somebody in the most appalling circumstances managed to find meaning in that suffering and was able to find a life after the horrendous things that had happened to him. While we're there, I want to suggest another book. There's a woman called Edith Eger, E-G-A-R, I think it is, Edith Eger. She wrote a book called The Choice. It's possibly one of the best books I've read on life and dealing with life's difficulties and life struggles. And I think the combination of Viktor Frankl's book, who wrote it from an older person's perspective and a male perspective, and Edith Eger, who wrote The Choice, who wrote it from, she was very young. She was in her teens when she was in that concentration, when she was in a similar situation, writes it from a younger person's perspective. There's so much wisdom in that. For me, the combination of many years ago, when I decided to clean up my life, reading those books and a few other things, asking for help, but reading those books helped me to reassess my life and what I wanted from life. So I really want to encourage you guys to find those books. So that's Man's Search for Meaning and The Choice by Viktor Frankl and Edith Eger, respectively. And when you put it in the context of the loss that we've had with a limb, I find it extremely helpful also as how we look at life a bit from a philosophical perspective. Zombie Punk says, thanks for saying about finding meaning in our suffering, our loss. And yeah, I'm going to repeat that because I think it's so important is when we find meaning in our suffering, the despair around the suffering can lift. So I think we're challenged to find meaning. I don't think life has inherent meaning. I think we have to find meaning in our lives. Mike Paul says, yes, sir, you have massive meaning. As a content creator myself, great. Never focus on the numbers. It's all about loving the process. And that is true purpose and happiness. And I remember, thanks, Mike. I remember before I started this and I did a bit of research, I found a guy called Casey Neistat's channel. And he was such an inspiration. And he said, keep your eyes off the numbers and the money and all these things and love what you do. He basically said, if you have an internet connection, a good idea, and a phone, you can put out content. And that was true for a while, but it gets a bit more complex after that. If you want to put out not good content, but make it more attractive to viewers. But yeah, to focus on the connection for me, that's what's important, is this kind of thing happening. Is and I do think, let's say something about connection. I think the opposite of depression is not happiness. I think that or depression and anxiety, I think the opposite of depression is connection. I think it's where we find connection, first of all, to ourselves, second of all, to others, and thirdly, to some greater way of thinking, whether it's nature or I think the connection is truly important. I think that we can deal with a lot more when we feel connected to ourselves and to others. Looking through the Blissful Essences, I have Viktor Frankl's book, great read. I hope that you guys take a look at that. And Brock at Zombie Punk, I love the attitude. Francois van der Poel says, see if you can trail components before you purchase. It's an expensive and long-term commitment. Excellent suggestion. Thank you, Francois. And that's what we need from each other here, is to give the sort of feedback that will help us make the right decisions in the long run. But yeah, so that come back to the Proprio foot. Gosh, that was a long way around the question. But to come back to the Proprio foot, so the Proprio foot has got can I've got one on. I'm going to take off my leg if you don't mind. That was hard. So you guys can all see this. Yeah. This is the Proprio foot. So this is the Rheo knee that I use, and the Proprio foot, it's got a bit of mud in because of my walk in the mountain this morning. But yeah, it's got mechanics in, and it dampens, it auto adjusts. The foot can adjust up and down. So if you walk uphill, it senses it with the gyroscopes, I think it's called, inside, and the toe lifts. So as you go increasingly uphill, the toe lifts, and the chances of getting a toe strike as you go up the hill become less. As well as when you go downhill, the toe drops a little bit, so it gives you better traction on your foot. It's a truly remarkable foot, and it looks heavier than it feels once you've got it on, and like anything else, you get used to it. This combination of the Rheo and the Proprio is what changed my life in the end, and I know that I talk about these very enthusiastically, but it's because it made such a difference in my life. So to answer the question that I started with is, yes, I think the Proprio is an amazing foot. I'm not sure that I would, I do like having a backup that is not electronic though. So that answers that, I hope. Guys, I see we're running out of time, yeah? We've been going for over an hour. So I'm going to bring this live stream to a close. Mike Ball, please let everyone know, Chris, where they can find you outside of YouTube. IG, it's very important for us to stay connected. I'm already following you. So yes, follow me on, go to my website. The web address is, sorry, somebody's just walked into the room. I'm a bit distracted. Yeah. So go to the web address, go to ilive.today. That's ILIVE, ilive.today, and that'll take you to my website. And everything is on there, as I showed it to you guys earlier on. The work that I do, etc. It's all up there. So Win says, thank you, Chris. This has been an amazing live stream. Well done. So good we can all connect and help each other as amputees. Can't wait for the next one. On that, thank you, Win. Just love you for all your support over the years. You're such a darling. On that, the idea is I'd like to do a live stream. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but I would have liked to do one every 2 weeks. The time of year now, this time of the day is difficult for me. I know it's good for the States because it's early morning there. So I'm going to have to look into the time. But for now, it'll be the same time every 2 weeks. I will post notifications well in advance, as I did with this one, so that we so that you guys get the message in time. And as I said again, please put your suggestions for topics out there so that we can keep things rolling and keep it interesting and dynamic. And I'm learning how to do this as I'm going along. So hopefully over time I'll get a bit better at it and be able to stick to the topics more, because I get a little bit lost. But stick to the topics a bit more. And yeah, we'll try and cover as much information as you need to live the best possible life you can as an amputee. And I truly hope for you what I have experienced over time, which is a general overall improvement in my quality of life through a combination of getting feedback from other amputees, the right prosthetics, a change in my attitude, being a bit more adventurous with what I can and can't do, and a relationship with the prosthetic manufacturer who took my hand and said, you can do better than this. And for all of that, you guys, I am truly eternally grateful. So guys, thank you for joining me today, and hope to see you on the next one. As I said, I'll post early notification. To get that notification, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be sure that it'll come through to you. But thank you. It's been awesome. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you all on the next one. Ciao.